someone who had murdered a trans person in the city, but the mother of the person who had uh, been killed spoke out and specified, one, that investigation wasn't done, and two, they didn't find anything from those cameras. So that was like
Yeah.
a double down sort of lie.
They have a whole website about that, and there was a video on YouTube of people who investigated and debunked every single testimonial that they were claiming they had helped to solve.
Yeah.
It's nefarious that I mean, that's why like a lot of the conversations, and I feel like everyone that we sort of have mutuals with in the tech space as well, who cares about security, and the whole conversation about Linux is also around this conversation of security and privacy as well. But like the guise of safety often gets used in that, in a terribly insidious manner. Like if someone
Yes.
didn't know that everything that Mayor Johnson had said was a lie, that they would think, oh, this is useful. Like there's a benefit to that, and opt in for this level of like convenience of safety. But you don't get that. It's a falsehood that's meant to perpetuate what is arguably just a data analytics method to benefit in some form of capital, I'm sure.
Yeah.
As well as
Yeah.
ICE contracts, like we would like Paragon Solutions or
Yeah, no, ICE is purchasing that data from Flock, and they've come out and said it. 404 has reported on it. Though there are some people are starting to pull back. I don't know if
Redmond.
y'all have heard this, but like the UK has stopped some data sharing with the United States because they don't want to be party to a war crime, international war crimes. So like,
Over the boats.
yeah, over the boats, which is like data
But there's
limitations because of the through the Five Eyes Treaty, y'all. The Five Eyes Treaty, that's an ancient evil that's been like deeply encoded.
Yeah. Cash Patel had fired the person, the liaison for that. So there's been no one participating in the Five Eyes things on behalf of the US for
No, I didn't even
all
hear
year.
that. Jesus Christ. So
But there's
talk about
another
this,
example.
jeez.
Another interesting example, going back to the previous topic, was that Redmond, Washington has kicked Flock out.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. So like, there's an example now, like of a city that did it, and I keep trying to talk like I joked about it in the live show, but like the SFDSA, I would love if they would ever win anything ever. And like, there are so many things that it could be, and like this would be a great one. That like why don't you get behind that? Like why don't we? That's
For
that's like
Flock,
a
yeah, we won't have it on our streets. Yeah, that would be great.
totally achievable goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Denver PSL has been posting about it here at least. So there's some organized coalition, but I think just a lot of people like I was talking to Comrade about this too, but like just the necessity to bring messaging or what is obfuscated cause and effect to a material like interaction to someone. I believe we talked about it before, like hyper objects, right? Like the mentality of understanding that what happens here can affect other people elsewhere. What happens elsewhere will affect you here. Things like the Imperial Boomerang. I mean, one of the biggest examples was when I
Pandemic.
first learned about like politics in any formal sense, there was always a separation of domestic and foreign policy. And I always wondered why. And I was like, wait, that comes from like arguably the same place though. We're the same entity that does that. It's money that goes from here to both of those things. And just like bridging that difference of how people will have to understand how problems maybe in one particular spot can permeate or deeply affect and set precedents for what happens in your own neighborhood is like it's so immediate that I wonder how people will be able to anticipate or keep up with that
I mean,
ever consuming flow of information.
a lot of it is principles. Like what is it? The ICE raids.
Mhm.
Surprising no one, criminals are dressing up as ICE and kidnapping people and robbing them and stuff like that. And so like Obviously, anybody that would have had a brain for 5 seconds would think that, yeah, if you don't have to identify yourself, somebody's going to exploit that, right?
That happened in SF.
Yeah. And like with Flock, Flock's like, we work with police departments across the United States to break down inter area silos, which is allegedly great because there's all these silos, people don't talk to each other, it's very hard. If you've ever watched Law and Order, you know how hard it is, propaganda, right? And you're like, well, maybe we do need this kind of stuff. It's very easy to fall into that. But then, the problem is like local yokels in like Nowheresville, Montana, or where it's just somewhere, right? They will do something like sell their old computers and not wipe the drives, and now you have a ring of people who get access to the Flock network, and it looks like it's coming from Nowheresville PD, and like they don't know and nobody knows. And how many of those actors are in the system? Is it like some actors, a lot of actors? Like, is it what percentage of the system? Is it less than 1%? Probably not. And like, given what a lot of people are saying, I mean, like, if you just Google Flock vulnerability, because I was like, a lot of those cameras can be taken down with like a blue laser pointer, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. I'm like,
one that you could get in
Flocks,
trouble for having
do they have,
on you.
Yeah, and so I look at this and it's like, the Flock networks can't make automated updates. The lawmakers say stolen police logins are exposing Flock surveillance cameras to hackers. November 3rd, 2025. Like, like surprising no one, right? And so this is why, don't forge the One Ring, because it's just going to be war in Middle Earth forever, right? Like, don't create the don't create the Torment Nexus. It's a lot of stuff that
the ultimate
like,
backdoor, right? Yeah.
And if the answer is like, well, if somebody gets a hold of it who is nefarious, and you say, no, it'll just be the government, and the government has checks and balances, right? Like, we now know, well, that's not a very good, like, that doesn't work very well at all, actually. And so you kind of need, like, this is why you need multipolar situations. And this is also why police departments don't share data with everybody who gets into small town USA's like tiny police department of like, oh, well, it's just my friend Kevin's boy, and he'll be great, he'll be he'll figure it out eventually, and like he's stalking his ex-girlfriend across state lines, and like weird stuff like that is happening. Why? Because he's like, no one's ever checked him in his tiny town, and like, again, it's
I don't like the police having it either, but
yeah, like different areas have different security procedures.
But it's not just that these people, like, the concern about privacy is not just that these people are evil, it's that these people are fucking stupid also. And they're gonna lose all of it, and it's like it's gonna be your identity that gets stolen, right?
Yeah.
Because you know who one of the owners of Flock is? Mr. Sweaty Antichrist.
Oh, Sweaty, yeah. Surprising.
So
Why?
It's integrated with the other thing. Like, obviously, like, it's the most obvious integration.
Are we afraid to say it?
Well, if you name it, if you speak its name, it shall appear. But it's deeply integrated into the platform we're on right now. So it's
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Yeah. It threatened to kill some of us, so...
Yeah, it did threaten to kill some of us. I mean...
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
He actually wished me well, technically, and that nothing bad happened to me. It's the actual technical words that were said, and so...
Just like Altman did with Suchir Balaji,
yeah,
right?
he probably said, I don't want anything bad to happen to him, and I don't know what was happening.
Speaking of them, did you hear what came out about the OpenAI board member who is the former head of the Treasury today?
No, it has been sitting in my to watch, like, also all of that tea. Tell us the story.
The House Democrats leaked a bunch of documents that show that they were like besties, like the three of them. And there's like a bunch of emails, including one where Epstein is like coaching Summers on like how to have like more manipulative conversations with young girls.
Oh yeah.
He's like giving him personal coaching on like how to be a psycho.
Oh man, that's the best smoking gun that you could ever possibly.
Also, there's a whole conversation between Jeffrey and Ghislaine about whether or not they think Trump ratted them out when he was being investigated, and like the evidence that they have for both sides, and like, well, he knows about all this, he knows about all that, so it's very clearly. And one of the things was like he was just he just, one of the emails on this topic, Jeffrey was like, he was over at one of my houses with this like young girl for many hours, and so we can use that if he's
One of the victims, yeah.
if he's gonna run, or if he wins, we can use it to get like leverage to get like favors. And like they have all this evidence that they like are talking about to prove that he's one of the clients, and like they're discussing whether or not he ratted them out, and it's clearly he didn't, right? And they finally proved to each other that he didn't, but he knew about all of it and didn't rat them out. But the thing that I've heard nobody talk about is the fact that like that Larry is like literally on the board of OpenAI right now. It's like this guy is like in the papers today, and it's like he's the one making decisions about the alignment of ChatGPT.
I feel like the social contract on that is broken in a lot of ways. Of like, especially with this whole situation, like there's so many people that are implicated in that the question then becomes like, how do you even enforce this to this amount of people all at once? I feel like are you guys expecting any justice, I guess, being performed in this fight? I don't.
No, unfortunate. No, what's gonna happen is they're gonna say it's a hoax. The DOJ is gonna say we're not gonna do anything about it, and then there will be a spin cleanup operation. There will be a splinter group who gets excommunicated. They'll try to go purple, but they're racist, so they can't, and so they'll get kicked out. And then, like,
Argentina.
Yeah, and then Argentina, and so like, or just quiet. I'll just stop talking about politics for a while. You know, like that's basically what will happen. And so, then probably the health impacts of all of those McDonald's cheeseburgers will catch up at some point, and then it will not, and then we won't be able to talk about it anymore because it's not right to bring it up anymore. And
hell no, I'm celebrating.
And then because that he was the main anchor, no one else's actual thing will be brought up except probably for Bill Clinton for the rest of time.
Yeah, well, like like people like
honestly good
Miller and Bannon will fall to the ways. I don't like that though. I feel like
Bannon's in all of it too though.
Yeah. I just mean like what Liz is saying, where once King Cheeto kicks it, and there's like a sort of break of the figurehead. People tend to stop paying attention to like the moving parts that happen below very quickly. I mean, that happened with the Nuremberg trials as well, but like
I think after like Steve Bannon and whatever the other guy's name is, like after they bite on to Donald Trump, like their lips fuse to his body and they actually become part of his body, so that whenever he's ready to lay the eggs, he just has like the reproductive organs still there. So I don't think that we'll notice them anymore. Yeah, no.
They've just anthropomorphized into it.
Yeah.
That's South
Park. I don't know. I think there'll be. I think if they want to win, the Democrats are gonna run on accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I-
like I'm a big fan of the accountability archives. I don't think. I mean, I don't know.
They would
I
win
don't
on
see their party
accountability, so I don't think
existing.
so. I mean,
Well, I mean, speaking of
they would
Washington,
be in
yeah,
grave danger
Katie
of
Wilson
winning.
just won, right? Like
Yeah.
a socialist, openly socialist. We got coast to coast socialists. Um, the pendulum of McCarthyism is turning the other way, I think. At least in like, I don't like to. I think inevitably, and I guess this is just like officially my take on the situation of like Mamdani and Wilson is they are in some form meeting, Lenin talked about it, meeting the party where they're at in some sense. And I believe that they will inevitably act as capitulation towards parts of the system that I believe should be wholly removed, if not rebuilt entirely. So I'm going to continue to hold them as accountable as I have with people like Bernie and AOC, who both disappointed me with things like international conversations, like even saying particular words.
Are you channeling Comrade?
Of course, I've always, but like
He said all of that the other day, right?
yeah, I mean, I
What
I
are we
agree.
talking about right now? What are we
I think
alluding to?
I think any
Our missing person.
leftist, yeah, any well-meaning leftist definitely feels that this is both a positive sense for the shift of like the Overton window and like social barometer of what is the conversation of leftism entering mainstream, but is sorely and sufficiently like insufficient, right, for what needs to actually be occurring. It is the ignition for what I hope is us pushing the gas on this movement. But I think that for a lot of people, it's this constant like capitulation of like, well, we got the win now. Like, why do you want more? And I think that for people to understand that progression and accessibility and leftism is a vector and direction as it is a structure as well, that you should be open to the criticisms and valid critique of how it isn't considering that greater at its core, that we should strive for that as a goal, even if we consider it an ideal that's impossible and inaccessible. We should still strive for that in every way. So I think that that criticism is something that should be maintained and considered with the same revelry that we initially had about getting this. I just worry that it makes people settle, right? Like they get relaxed and they go, "Cool, this is the win." And I'm like, I don't mean to tire you out even more, but like that was the warm up.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we're in the race. This is the conversation. Now we get to hold them accountable. Now we get to
Right.
like push for things and also help them, because a lot of the interactions that will likely occur from like an adversarial perspective is kind of like a Pied Piper, where you'd sort of intentionally block those to then attack the entire idea. Like if Mamdani isn't able to deliver on every single exact message, it's kind of the same thing minorities have to face in general, is you have to be a quintessential perfect example. You can't just be a regular or like average capable person in that role. Now that you have that expectation or consideration of what you are, you have to do it excellently, and that becomes the standard. Otherwise, you're harming the entire image. And I don't.
Yeah. This is what I was just watching this morning. Felix Biederman on the Doom Scroll podcast with Joshua Citarella,
Mhm.
and they were it's like saying all the same things. That like was like realistically, like the platform that Mamdani ran on is not a left platform. Like this is all like ideas that were mainstream 50 years ago. That like this is not even the left. Like he's basically abundance, like more than anything else.
Material, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like low key, not
Worker focused, like.
yeah, but it's not a radical agenda at all to have
No,
like.
no. I mean,
But also the question being like, this is when we're gonna see if the DSA is really capable of executing on behalf of an executive, right? Like if you got your person in, are you gonna do the work now? Like it's the morning after the revolution. Who's doing the fucking dishes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Someone else? Because that's no one, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people are very down for the revolution, but they're. I mean, here's the thing though. Like in Nepal, what did they do the next morning? Well, they got up and they swept the streets,
Yeah, they're doing that
right?
during,
you have
right?
to.
That-
That's part
yeah.
of it. It's like everything you burn down, you're gonna have to build it back up again, right? You don't want to just burn things down because you're mad. Um, you want to demolish something so you can build something new in its place, and only when you actually are about to build something new in its place, not just because then that'll force you to build something new in its place. That's like, oh well, I better, uh, you know, put all of this laundry on my bed because that'll force me to fold it. Like, it's just not gonna, like that's just not how anything works. So
I consider that
yeah.
like kind of like a cultural opiate that we as Americans have to like work through collectively, is that bit of individualism of saying like I'm expecting someone else to do this cleaning or be part of this structure and do these things because I cannot. And I think that individualization, that hyper individualization, is what makes it so easy to add on the concept like unions are a bad thing, community is something you shouldn't integrate with, and stuff like that. Like, that's why I like that video. That was the most amount of death threats I got, by the way. That video that recently like blew up about me talking about decolonizing your concept of violence, and that like
Yeah.
systemic violence. Some people called it out. They nailed it perfectly. I was directly referencing Coretta Scott King and Galton's Triangle, which are like two just concepts like around the concept, and like I think Lenin mentions it as like social murder as well, but like just the concept that systemic structuralization that pushes people away. I don't think people realize how deeply entrenched that is in things like whenever I hear other men talk about like the male loneliness epidemic, I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but a lot of that concept is also driven by the structure of capitalism itself and the concept that you have to perform or be a particular thing, and you can't even exist in this space without either being a customer or a particular kind of person that has to be. You are not allowing yourself to be vulnerable in any space. So obviously you lack that capability or maturity to be able to do it in a setting that's intimate as well. And like that is something that is a type of violence that men don't realize is both patriarchal and capitalistic in nature. That uh, eventually, if you bring that up immediately to people who can't even conceptualize the idea that buses costing money is a type of violence, they get upset. That'll reject them, I think. And I think that I've talked about it before, that there's a threshold of how people interact, right? Like you guys, with the skin tone you have, will be able to appeal to a wider audience of particular topics that they might look at me and my particularities and go, I'm not taking that from someone who looks like a flight risk. And it won't connect with them. But that despite the fact that that's something I find frustrating, it's the nature of communication
Yeah.
that has to be considered. And I think that anything that makes it more accessible is good. So going full circle back to like Mamdani and Wilson, I don't think they're going to be the gold standard of shaping the entire country and bringing us back from the brink of what I would consider already partially destroyed concepts. But it is something I consider a sign that people are seeking deeper understanding towards the core roots of what's been affecting them, their inequality, their inaccessibility to things, especially with things like the ACA. Now, my premium literally went up over 50% just in like my new health plan because we had open enrollment at the place I work. And just like that was over like $150 extra per month, and nothing. I get less coverage. My deductible's higher. And those are the things that Mamdani ran on, right? That was the direct connection of
Yeah.
where people may not see like the size of the trunk, but if you could show the root in front of them, then they'll begin to ask, hey, what's connecting that? And I don't know. I think that's what the core of,
Also, though,
dialectical materialism is as well.
that group that you mentioned, like there was a huge, like a huge chunk of young men who voted for Trump and then voted for Mamdani. And I've heard a lot of people ask, like, what, how did that happen in less than a year? And I think it's less complicated than people are making it. I think those are people who perceive themselves as like being the recipients of all of these disadvantages, whether or not they are, or whether or not that's even real.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the number one issue for a feeling of success in life for that group in nationwide polls is like being able to have a family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like there's this image of who they're supposed to be, and it's unattainable. And so anything that makes it seem attainable, any improvement to material conditions, is what you vote for, right? And I think that under that lens, like it's very consistent when you look at this pattern of behavior. It's not that because they don't approve of his policies. They voted for him because he said he was going to make their lives better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he didn't, he made them worse, right? But I think that explains how they swung so far so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it
I
shows
think
you
that's
that
one thing
like
that frustrates me about Democrats, right? Is that they aren't pressing down on the message of being working class like Mamdani has. And like he did it without Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer approving it, like without any sort of support from that organization, because they inevitably have to deal with the hypocrisy and contradiction of they claim to be a party of human rights and material improvement, but you still have to capitulate to capitalism because your own money is entrenched in the same systems that are disenfranchising these very people. So it's like that separation, that schism. Like I think there'll be, at least in the next few years, a sudden shift, not just away from like Democrats, but push towards what I think will be more openly socialist, supporting people. I don't know what affiliation
I think
Katie Wilson is.
I think that's the wrong lesson to take from it.
Oh,
It's not about
man.
it's not about his views, it's not about his perspective, it's about what he's convinced them he will deliver.
He asked them about the 5 most important things that they needed to get done and did that. Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
those material conditions to me are inherently leftist, right? Like,
I think
But not
it is.
democratic.
So I think there's a very like most generations get lefter and more progressive, and then suddenly Gen Z took a hard swing right. What is different about the last few generations and this one? Well, they all came of age in the pandemic, y'all, and like it you probably think back to your early 20s and you think you are basically as smart as you are now and basically as like competent, just like less experienced. But like there's a lot of stuff that gets shaved off of you by hanging out with other people, judging other people, um, not trying to impress anyone, being too angry all the time, trying to help too much. Like there's just a whole bunch of stuff that you learned at home, which was your shape of being at home, that then you got to kind of have the world rounded out, right? And so there's several years, and it's staggered, right? Of people who did not get to go out, and that was largely people whose parents were on the left, and people who grew up in that time, like were and are young adults now, and largely voted for Trump, who had progressive parents, y'all. A lot of those people, they honestly just have to stay at home with their parents, and they are trying to define themselves as anything else. And yes, like it's very unaffordable to have a family, but guess what? It's always been unaffordable to have a family. I know there are economic indicators that mean it's harder now for certain things, but there are easier things as well. And so like it's not, I'm not saying that this is not a problem. I'm saying that it's not just material preconditions that caused that, because that didn't cause those material preconditions in the past. During the Great Depression, we swung more progressive and we got the New Deal out of this, right? And so it's not just material preconditions. Some of it is actually literally just kind of aloneness, and also people who sent their kids to school during the pandemic and didn't engage in the concept of the pandemic. Those kids got into an echo chamber, and then as individual kids rejoined the somewhat conservative echo chamber, they sort of got averaged out, but it didn't they weren't able to nudge the center, Whereas normally you have all these kids join as a whole cohort at once and not in a staggered way, which means that they all come from an average and sort of just like even out, right? But now you kind of have this internal oscillation within the cohort of Gen Z, and it's not every household, but it is a such a measurable statistical effect that it's showing up in the voting, you know. And I think that's like something that I'm seeing. I mean, just teaching college students, like they're way more judgy than they normally would be by at this point. They're way more. They're not super outgoing. They're not super like, let's go to a party or a club or dance or do a like a fun or like a picnic at the park. Like they don't even do that. They go to each other's houses like they're in high school. You know, like you remember in high school, you go to your friends' houses because you're not going anywhere else. It's that or Walmart in the middle of the night, you know, and so like, but that's a lot of what's going on with them because like they're not doing anything else. And they're getting married.
I think the thing though that is not obvious that we are likely to overlook is the fact that these younger generations are way less identitarian, particularly around political alignment. And I think even around like explaining the platform or the differences, I think that's like less something that they're even interested in the same way. And I don't think they identify like
may not even realize that they're in an alt-right pipeline is how we describe it, but to them it's
but even that, like if they're in a situation where they've been given this narrative from someone they trust that says this person will do this, that person will do nothing. It's like, okay, well then obviously I'll choose that one. Right? I think it's a lot less complicated, and I think also incumbents everywhere lost last year, and also like Trump did not attract more voters than he previously had, but a huge number of Democrats did not show up. Like it was down like millions from the previous election. You know, like I really don't think like one of the groups that did change a lot was young, especially young men. But they immediately regretted it when they saw what happened, and his approval with them is like -40 now, right? Like, I'm not sure that it's true to say that they swung to the right. I think they did something that we would characterize that way, but I don't think it makes sense based on how they reacted to the outcome, because if that's really what they wanted, they would have been like, we approve, like, this is what we wanted, right? But very clearly, this is not what they wanted. And like, it's also,
I would say
for a lot of young people, it's the first time they've ever been able to vote, you know?
Yeah, and I would also say, you know, there has to be a connection in a lot of ways to feel that there's an impact to that, right? And I would say more so than any previous generation, the disconnect of that to material impact has never been more salient or visible than before. Like Great Depression may have been bigger in terms of maybe scale. I'm sure economists would argue back and forth on whether we're currently experiencing something that might be worse or going to as well. But the point is that the data and the accessibility to that data and knowledge of that is way more accessible than it was in something like the Great Depression. So I do think that a lot of the people who weren't, you know, more hyper individualized in how they voted in things like that, that were also Gen Z, were more nihilistic or disconnected and disenfranchised in general, like a lot of minorities that don't participate in the system because they haven't seen the value of material impact. They've only seen degradation of not doing so. And to them, I've met a decent amount of accelerationists in that capacity as well, because I would say that one thing that Gen Z and onward, especially with Alpha, faces as a precipice more than anything before is just like the abject unsurety of their material future in terms of like the planet, their job, their education, their housing. Every material form of their safety or existence is facing a type of crisis that has been unprecedented on any other scale before. And I think that creates a shift in like the zeitgeist of the generation Malay. I feel it as someone who's on the tail end of it myself. I talk about not having the ability to own a house, and that's something that, like, would I even have the ability to take care of it? I don't know, but I'd like to have the opportunity to find out I can't. Like,
Yeah.
I think that in order to make people want to care in those systems, there has to be that, and that's what I was talking about, hyper objects, right? That they don't realize, or they don't care, or they might know and not care that not participating can still have a material negative impact, even though they don't get to see a positive impact of things that might be the human rights oriented way to vote in a particular way. And I think that comes directly from the people who skim off the top, the concept of capital at its core, right?
Yeah.
And I think exactly what you're saying, that there's a rejection on a more individual level. It isn't thinking about it as like, oh, there's this holistic structure. It's almost like a microservice of a person that's just led as a sort of a mentality by figureheads in podcasts. Like, even us, like, don't just take everything we're saying at a word. Look it up, read it yourself, critically examine and consider what is being said to you at a level that, like, I think a lot of people, one, have lost the energy for, so they'll defer to authorities on that. And two, those authorities require no bearing of honesty or accuracy in a lot of ways too.
This is, yeah, what's known as, in like, to a lot of people, I think, what is it? Daniel Schmachtenberger talks about this, the meta crisis, basically. There's too much information. There's just too much of it. Nobody can keep track. Nobody can check it all. A high signal to no or low noise signal immediately degrades because of its high signalness, means that the value of it is so much that more and more effort is bent to, cause entropy to that signal such that you can put in a little bit of noise. And that's advertising. That's just how advertising works. And as long as you've got some multi-arm bandit problems involved, and this is like beyond capital, right? If you've got multi-arm bandit, like, high signal, low noise sources are going to be attacked by those multi-arm bandits. The end. And it doesn't matter if you've got a resource-based economy versus a labor-based economy versus a capital-based economy versus a magic wishes-based economy. If there is some form of finity and several things competing for the same resources, like, there is an incentive to pollute the information ecosystem. And a polluted information ecosystem evolves rapidly, and the coefficient, not the coefficient, sorry, the derivative, the rate of change.
You think people work the same way?
Yeah. The rate of change continues, and I don't. It's not really a person thing, right? It's just a game theory thing, right?
Mhm.
Like, if there is a competition and it's not a set of rules that can be that are a physical law of the universe, then, like, the information ecology in that system will be polluted, so
I will say, through the pollution and, like, overwhelmingness of information, there has been a rise of people, at least in the pocket of internet that I end up in, that have kind of accidentally rejected a lot of the propaganda that people might have normalized. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched this profile called Committee of Affairs, but it's this it'll have this little blurb of, like, a monologue at the beginning of a random creator, and then just completely disconnected like edit clips over music, and it's just kind of just setting this aesthetic. It's weird. It's almost like poetry in a way, where the backdrop of this monologue is meant to just sort of, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's ridiculous humor, sometimes it's super serious. But what I've noticed in the conversations around videos like that, where there's just a sort of monologue, and it's usually been more left-leaning monologues in conversation, but one of the ones I saw in particular was like, imagine being so brainwashed that you think people shouldn't have food, water, or a place to live. That if they don't have money, they should just die. And I found that so, I don't know, poignant, because it was almost like rediscovering the original like point of empathy just by rejecting all of that and going, wait, no. And that, I think, is a reassurance to me, because I think that empathy at its core and the direction of how I believe the structure of how human existence will try and bend towards is one of empathetic nature, is because that's a point that just is self-evident and rediscovers just by people interacting with each other. And I think that is why that structure of misinformation is so intensely sized in maintaining itself, that it has to do that and consider you to not like engage with the person beside you in a way that constantly requires you to do that. And eventually, as we reach that precipice, it's losing that because of that overwhelming sort of sensation. I know a lot of people who don't check. Like, I'm one of them, unfortunately. Over the past few years, I've stopped checking notifications on things because I would get them from everywhere. Now, to the point of where so many alarms, so many alerts associated with it. Congratulations, you've now diluted the entire concept of it to me. I don't use them at all. And I think that's a
I've been
good
doing
thing
that for years.
things. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I
like,
can't tell you when the last time
I turn them all off when I get the phone, and they never come on.
it's relieving. It's like I have like a work schedule because I don't want to have another phone to like check stuff, because I don't want to pay for another one. But I set my work apps to like stop working at a particular schedule and have a different profile. And for like home stuff, I know there's people who've likely texted me like since early October. I haven't gotten back to you, and I apologize. But they know that I'm not doing it because I'm avoiding them. It's because I'm avoiding the entire concept of like
phone.
that an accessible way to get to me. Like, all of those people have my phone number. They will call me if they need me directly, and they know I'll answer. But creating that reconnection and that reconfiguration of like human interaction, I think, forms despite the accessibility to like not do so. Everyone's gonna reform that, and I guess that's like, to me, the indomitable human spirit that reemerges, is that empathy of connection that reforms. So despite all that propaganda of and honest reality of some material conditions that might get worse, I think people still will bend towards the notion of saying, this is stupid. You can just have food. There's no point in throwing it away if we all need it. Like,
I would love for that to be true, but it's not. And
it's gonna be scary when it gets to that point, for sure.
But like there's a ton of even like early childhood behavioral research where like people are willing to expend their limited resources to prevent someone else from having what they need.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, and this is like a like people will work harder to make you lose than they will work to win themselves. And this is like just how human behavior works, especially in groups that are larger than the Dunbar number, where you don't have any emotional connection to the other person.
Dunbar's what, like?
It's like 150.
Oh, I thought it was like 210 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the size of a town or something, right?
Yeah.
30 to 50.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Like a neighborhood.
Yeah.
But like we don't live in that world, and the reality is that like this circle of sentiments gets smaller when times
You
are
don't think
tough.
that'll change?
No, this is like neurological.
Yeah, actually, when you are feeling afraid, you will not hit up people who you have a less strong connection with, and you're also less likely to reach out for help when you feel like there is a general community lack, because you don't want to like use up your one favor that you might have early, So yeah.
There was an fMRI study on people who they were monitoring the empathy center. Do you feel the pain of the other person in your brain? And if you know about any difference between you and them, and that's what's primed, then there's no empathy response.
Oh.
versus someone who is similar to you on whatever thing. So they even tested like obviously like sports teams. This person is against the sports team that you
What
like.
prime similarity? Was it just visual distinction? Like,
No, like they said like the sports teams. This person is a different sports team than what you like. They're a fan of, and then they stab them in like it's simulated. But if it's a person that likes the same sports team as them, then they will feel the pain. If it's a person that doesn't like the same sports team as them, then they won't feel the pain. And it's even true of things that are made up. Like, for example, there was one stage of the experiment where they said, yeah, like it's like you're a part of this thing that we made up, and this person is not. And then stab them and they don't feel the empathy. Vice versa, they do feel the empathy if it's like they're in the same group that we just made up that you're in.
Even if you
And they have the empathy response.
yeah, I mean, like I think I mentioned earlier as well. Like, I did get a lot of death threats on that video. I was talking about changing your concept of systemic violence, but then I made a follow video. Like, even the people who are sending me death threats, I want them to have food, water, shelter, education, and medicine unconditionally. And it's like, that is a practice that I have to perform as well, for sure. I think there is a neurological. I mean, it's a healthy and natural reaction to react with like concern and adversity towards someone, especially if they threaten you, like in a literal sense. The concept of how someone perceives a threat is something that can be manipulated, for sure. But like, your natural reaction to being threatened is want to like protect yourself in that fashion. But I guess I think it's like this precipice of human connection that exists once you work past that. And I wonder how people can achieve that. Because for me, even the people that I have the chorus disagreements of like, I don't want this person in my life, I don't wish them like material insecurity in that way. I want them to eat, just not at my table.
Yeah. There's like, you want them to eat, but there's probably a moment of time in which, like, if they were yelling in your face, you wouldn't be in this, like, beatific, like, I still want you to
Yeah,
eat. You'd be
yeah,
like,
no.
hey, man, get out of my face. And so,
Yeah.
like, it's largely about the perception of threat and the priming, right? Like, it's like, if you say, but they are the other sports team and therefore bad, then you don't feel it. But if you're like, but they also voted with you on prop blah, or they, you just pick one other thing that is the same, it nullifies that thing. And then it also serves as it's like a social release valve to have something that you disagree with someone about, because it allows you to forgive them their trespasses by blaming it on that thing.
Yeah,
And
it's like rejection.
You've heard people say this. Well, like, he did mess up the wing sauce, but he is a Steelers fan, and so of course, it's like, it's kind of like you're like less mad at him now. Like, you can use it that way, and so I think it's really about mindfulness.
It's been fascinating in this time to connect things that people are saying to like ancient traditions, like wives' tales, or like even like proverbs, right? Like, for example, interest rates being illegal in every religion, or like with the gamification of everything, and that being illegal in every religion, right? And like all these different like cultural norms throughout history being things that we have like legalized in ways that is like suddenly obvious why that's bad.
Yeah.
Like, Polymarket is bad, There are ads everywhere in San Francisco now for Polymarket. And like on buses, on the side of buildings, like, it's crazy.
That's that like that's like gambling site, right? Where you can bet on anything.
You can bet on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole section on there for betting on like when Hassan will be arrested or assassinated. Like, it's insane. And like, it's funny because this was one of the topics at the conference, And I'm like, I really feel like this is like not a big deal. And then afterwards, I'm seeing it everywhere. And it's like, oh shit, this is a huge deal.
No, it's a huge thing. Like they've been. I mean, the it's an erosion. It's that slow erosion, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's not sports betting. It's futures market. Well, it's you see, it's
Prediction market.
prediction. That's what prediction markets.
Yeah.
That's what you know. And it's like it doesn't count as betting, and so but then you can predict sports bet, like, so you just get right back around to okay, now
Right.
sports betting again, right? Well, no, it's and so like, well, no, it's because it's based on a formula, you see, and that's based off of my knowledge, my special sports knowledge, because I've spent many years studying sports, and like, no, it doesn't count. But like
You know,
that's.
you know that there are halal banks?
I did not know that.
They don't have interest. It's like interest-free mortgages and stuff, but only
It's
for Muslim
actually
people.
legit.
Right?
That's legit.
That's how
I can't remember who it was in the Discworld series, but there's a character who basically described like evil is when you treat a person like an object, and I never forgot that phrase because I think at its core a lot like everything you guys are describing in terms of that like golden rule, do unto others as you would unto yourself, is one where you stop treating the other person like a person. You objectify them in some form, either through considering them as an investment to get like a percentage on, you harass them in a form of something you need from them without considering them.
Yeah.
It's like not considering the person. And I think that's like the core of also the conversations I try to have with people that even like want to hurt me and hate me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm strapped. I carry for a reason, but like that's
Okay.
that's a failure that I consider even needing to like need to do that, right? Like the conversation to me is about humanizing a person to their exact needs of saying like the things you're worried about are things that I want you to have as well as myself. And both of us can have those things. That's why I like combating conversations like the conversation of like overpopulation was one I always try to talk about with like food waste. Like just food waste alone. We throw away more food than we need to feed the rest of the world. It's just a matter of like, is it market specific of if we give food to people that we would normally sell them to, would they buy the food anymore? And if that's the reason people aren't getting fed, then it starts to become overt to people who are both hungry saying, well, why are we doing that anyways?
Yeah.
And that's why I said like I think it sucks that it's gonna have to get to that level because for a lot of people they won't materially recognize that Rubicon within themselves till they're affected. But
I think
it's
that
becoming more obvious, I would say.
living in the forest and eating garbage for a few months or years does a lot of positive good for people.
Yeah.
My experience in terms of especially like empathy for food waste and uh yeah, and like realizing that like you don't need to be that concerned about like food safety as we are.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
Expiration dates.
Accurate.
I was cooking like as someone who's like Surf Safe Management certified, right? Who's like worked in food service. I was cooking on a fire in the forest, and I was like, oh, there was a class about how do you cook on a fire, and I was making like chicken curry, right? It's like a Thai curry. I made the curry sauce, cooking the chicken. I'm like, how do you tell when the chicken is done? Because I don't want it to get too dry. And the person teaching the class was like, CJ, that's dumpster chicken. Keep cooking. I'm like, oh. But it was good.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Nobody got
I
sick.
mean,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's all like a range of stuff. Yeah, it's, something that I think a lot of the like zeitgeist around the right, they sort of think of us as like people who've never been outside before. Us city slickers, we've never tried to rough it, we wouldn't know what to do with a tree. And it's just like, okay, well then, anyway, I'm gonna like catch and kill and cook, a creature, and skin it. And do you know how to do that? No, you don't. Actually, you just like own a lot of hunting like gear and camo, and you don't like actually go out but like once a year, and you don't usually come home with a deer because you just go out there to
Yeah.
drink with your buddies. Like, come on, man. Like, you just have like your men's non-loneliness circle, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
also fine. And it's not
Yeah.
an anti-loneliness circle. Sorry, that's too much. I get it. I apologize. It's boys.
We did
you
a-
know, it's different.
After the TV show, we did a live stream where we were talking about the plans to start the High Desert Institute.
Yeah.
And it was like me and Julia and Joe and Tyler. And somebody asked, like, other than Tyler, do any of the rest of you have experience with like wilderness survival and etc.? And I was like, I think actually Tyler is the only one that doesn't. The rest of us do. You got the image, but it's like you have the idea backwards.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh,
That's
Same with what you guys were doing at Burning Man. I mean, a lot of survival effort in the making sure people get water down there and things
I
are
have
sustainable
never-
as well.
That was my like the largest number of death threats that I have received was because of the Burning Man posts. Like literally.
why?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a lot of people that are like, the only people who go to Burning Man are like this, and I'm like, but you follow me and you like me and I go, so obviously it's not 100%. So then, why do you think I go? Just because I don't know any better? I've been going for years. Why do you think I just like to be around people who are insufferable? No, like and it's
It's a
love-
city.
it people have like their thing that they just dislike, and it's like that symbol for me is evil, and it's AI,
Yeah.
cybersecurity, computers in the first place, Republicans, gay people, just I mean whatever it is, like somebody's got something
Yeah.
they don't like about it. Guns,
The straw man of it. Yeah.
and I talk about most of those things. It's just like, what hot buttons could I get into today? Let's talk about guns and AI. And
Dead on.
progressivism, and also being gay, right? And orgies, and Burning Man. It's too many things. People are just like, no, I can't handle
Yeah. The thing that I think is most foreign to people like that, people who like describe city people in any way, the thing that is most foreign to them is the concept of fractal dimension and like the infinite coastline. Like, a city is a universe of universes.
Mm-hmm.
And like there are infinite number of different worlds full of people that have never met each other that live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like that concept is like,
So much to discover.
it couldn't possibly be that I don't understand everything about the world.
Right.
You know?
Dating in a city is hard because fitting someone else's life into your life is hard. Even one person's life into your life. Like, there are not
The whole
anybody
city's
here
worth it.
that doesn't have stuff going on. Like a lot of stuff going on. There's just not
Yeah.
that.
All right, cats. I know it's slated for 2 hours, but I do got to cut it a bit short. So
No worry.
I will be heading off myself, but
Yeah.
good luck and Godspeed. And I'm glad to be doing these. I know I've been unable to join for quite a while, so I'm glad that we're doing this. And yeah, Wednesdays are solid. So hopefully we can make this more
Cool.
regular as well.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm glad
Alrighty,
to get
cats.
Saturday mornings back.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
Wake
So-
up early, no guilt.
I'm like, oh, I have to get up.
All right, y'all be safe.
See.
Yeah.
Bye. Although tonight it is like the G5X3 whatever, like super Northern Lights
I
night.
know, everybody, we gotta run outside and go look at the like Northern Lights.
It's very bright here, so I would see the city anyway. I'm like in the middle of the city.
But are you gonna go on a drive and go see it? No.
I mean,
You love astronomy. Come on. You have
Maybe.
a car.
Maybe.
You have
Maybe,
come on,
maybe.
you have like all kinds of equipment. You have a special camera. You have a special camera just for this that you bought a few years ago.
That's true.
You didn't tell me that, but I knew it. And so-
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I have like occasionally I will do astrography posts, which is like not very often, and then I'll get a bunch of people who are like super into that,
Mm-hmm.
that like want to like chat and like engage in a really like intense way. That's not like they're different than the you know
AI, economics, computing infrastructure, legal stuff, like it,
yeah
yeah. Well, it's hard to have such wide audiences because you're always making somebody upset by not talking about the thing that they followed you for, which is uh,
yeah.
like which thing again? It's just like I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't be interested in one thing.
The most recent one, somebody got really upset. Like a longtime follower, apparently someone who described themselves as a longtime follower, is very upset about my haircut, and I'm like, I didn't get a haircut. I shaved my beard.
Those are
It's
hairs.
the same.
You
It's
cut
the same.
hairs. That's head hair, not their hairs were cut.
Yeah.
It's true.
But
I
I'm
was
like,
gonna be like, did you give Axiom like the extra? And I like glued on the.
I want to cut the rest. I don't know. I definitely am gonna do the sides
Yeah,
to like a one.
yeah. It's very 90s right now. It's giving 90s. Gotta get those sides down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna go see Jared Way or something.
Yeah, that sounds good. I am going to produce another show this weekend, and then I'm done until the end of the year, and then.
What show?
It's a Take Three event, so yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like a lot of different stuff. I like machines. That's what I like is a machine, and so uh, it makes lights, and I can control it with software. Great, that's my favorite kind of machine, and so
Yeah.
lighting controllers.
By the way, like this thing is like it's like really great. I think you would enjoy it.
What is that?
The like video switcher.
Yeah, you linked. I want that super bad. Yeah, I saw that you
And you
linked that,
can-
and I was like, I'm ordering it. Like, I'm ordering.
You can have like pictures to so it's like I'm not online yet, right? And it's like da, 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 and I'm like, oh hello, welcome.
Wow,
You know.
so profesh. Yeah, everyone's.
All right, see you later.
Oh man, that's so good. All right, I'm getting that. Nope, that's not it.
I got the docking station for the Steam Deck, and it goes into like another source. So then like it like well, that's the same one. Imagine like the Cyberpony is the game,
Oh.
and you can also very easily like jump around. There's like a button for each corner.
Oh, that's great. No, I want that. Oh, that's cool. Oh.
It's not that expensive, and it also the coolest part, it has its own Ethernet port, and it streams directly to any of the services.
Oh, even TikTok.
I don't know. It has a bunch of them.
Okay.
Like there was like 30 services or something.
Okay. Cool.
I'm only allowed to stream to Twitch now.
Oh, because you're exclusive.
They're paying me like $1,
$1.
but it has the potential to grow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I need to do like gaming, like streaming though, like get more people interested.
You gonna do some Factorio?
Yeah, probably. I just started a new one today. My universe was getting too complicated, and my the server and the desktop could both handle it, but the network connection, it was like not enough.
No. Okay. Yeah, I run mine on a VM because, oh man, having a nice VM with the,
Like in the cloud.
yeah, I just use a Google Cloud.
I think like I was asking some LLMs to help because I have like crazy fast internet. I have a fast connection from the server to the internet, from my computer to the internet, but not from like two devices in the house. Apparently, it's like a known issue with Google Mesh that it will always deprioritize device to device connections in favor of like device to the server connection.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I want to do Ethernet, but I also want to move. I don't know.
Yeah. Didn't you just
That's a-
plan? Oh no, it's like November. It's just warm every day.
Is it another interesting use case for the Steam machine is like it would be a really good game server.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's tiny, so you could have like two or four of them in an IKEA shelf, and yeah, like it's like this. It's like similar size to a Raspberry,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're really.
but with like crazy good specs.
Hmm. I guess I guess I need to order like a new micro SD to get this one back up. But like, I did get like a fleet of 2 of them. I mean, I just use TP Link. You can't go wrong with TP Link. Nobody ever got fired for buying TP Link.
Have you seen this one? The GL.
Mm-mm.
It has like the little ears.
Oh wait, yes, I do have one of those.
It's kind of expensive, but it's like super good. And it's like it has like a touchscreen on the front, so you can change like connect to like become a repeater or become a whatever. And it does like WireGuard and everything. And it's got the 2 Ethernet ports.
Yeah, what
so you
is
can
that thing called? Open WRT? No, yes.
it's that. It has that.
Yeah.
And it's got PD, so it's like USB-C.
That's pretty
It's
cool.
pretty great.
Yeah,
I really like it.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I I want to run a little cluster of these things, but I kind of want to just like run my run my whole website off of these old Android, like I don't even know the brand name or the model number of them, but there's a bunch of like
Like from home?
yeah.
You know that tells everybody where you live, right?
Hmm? No, I mean I can put a tunnel on. Yeah. There's like things that you can host. I forget. I made like Claude make me a list of like tunnels that I could use to host things from home. But yeah, you can obfuscate things. But there's like pretty cheap wireless plans these days where you can get like a hotspot for like $30. And those are pretty good for like a dedicated connection, and they tend not to go down as long as the cell phone network doesn't go down. And so I'm like, now I feel like I should be able to have a solar, like, off-grid website. So I've kind of been trying to play with that, but
Yeah.
Claude desktop, Claude Code can do a lot now. I don't know if you've been playing with 4.5, but
I've never used any Anthropic products.
no, you don't like them.
I get Google for free,
Hmm.
and I don't want to pay for any of the labs. I still have the fancy OpenAI account.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I mean, I have recently gotten them to be pretty autonomous, and so I don't know. I've been using Claude. It's on it. 4.5 can go for hours without intervention. So.
I'd really prefer to have like another Steam machine,
Yeah.
right? Like really have like local stuff. Because also I think these companies are going away soon, and so I don't want to become reliant on them. And I feel like it's going to be way harder to become autonomous like without like after they go away, you know.
Yeah. Cursor recently trained what I think is very clearly a distilled model based off of everyone's use of Cursor, Composer 1, and I think it's not a crazy huge language model because it's very, very fast. I don't know what they're hosting it on though, but it's like it's almost as good as Claude 4.5, and that's like flagship, but it's like 10 times as fast. And
Did you hear did you see the interview with Sam Altman talking about the Johnny Ive collaboration. His like walking it back from his freak out video.
No.
It's pretty interesting. He talks about how like basically they're betting the whole future of the company on this physical device that they want to sell. And the obvious problem is the fact that like everybody already has a physical device that already runs ChatGPT.
Yeah, what? They're doing a device? Why?
Yeah, and they've paid like $6-7 billion to Johnny Ive so far to develop it.
No. No. Chat, like OpenAI.
Yeah, yeah.
Went device.
But the thing that was most interesting to me about it is we had an exhibit at the conference on all of these like Rabbit and like all the different ones. And they're all terrible for the same reason, which is that they have like a 12-second delay between asking the question and then getting the answer because the APIs are really slow.
Yeah.
And so he mentions that in the interview, and he says that it's going to be running on the device.
That's
And it's like if like the shadow on my nose is weird. If it's a small device that's running a model, it's a small model, right?
yeah.
Just like this, like GPT-5 is this like router that has like a small model and a big model,
Mm-hmm.
and it's trying to use a small model to save money. But like they have already conceded everything at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're conceding that bigger is not better,
Yeah.
and that the future is not bigger. The future is smaller.
Yeah, it's true. Anything that you can build a benchmark for, you can train a small model to do eventually. After you have a large model, like figure it out. And so, distilled models are the future. I still think that we'll get big, very smart models, but I think that they'll just be an interstitial stage. Kind of in the same way that, like, you go through neuronal pruning, right? Like, you have dropout over the course of your life. You just make too many connections, everything seems too connected, and then your brain's like, let's drop everything,
Yeah.
and then everything gets less tight.
Are you familiar with Poolside?
Mm-mm.
It's I should say I am friends with the CEO, but I have not talked to him about any of this. I've actually like not talked to him in like 2 years, except to congratulate him on his like he just got a crazy huge raise, like $500 million for capex
Wow.
to build a data center for their company, which is like crazy. Like that's a totally unheard of thing to do for a startup.
Yeah.
So like the reason is actually super interesting. When I met him, he was going to all the software engineering meetups at Galvanize back in the day, like 10 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
I met him there, and we became friends going there. And he was doing this really interesting.
Wait, who was this again?
His name is ISO Kant.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, so he was doing this like classical machine learning, essentially code completion,
Mm-hmm.
like Copilot, but like with classical machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at the time being like, that doesn't seem possible. And he's like, yeah, it's very limited, but like it's actually really great because a lot of the stuff that people need help with is like a semicolon or something, and like that's actually pretty easy to figure out even with classical machine learning. And so he had this I always think at Anthropic it was called Athenian, and then there was another one after that, and then Transformers came out.
Yes, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, this is the fucking guy to do that, right? And when Copilot came out, I was like, I bet he will have something better. And so he started this new company, Poolside, and they raised all this money, crazy amount of money, to build. He did like a 2-hour interview with my other friend, Harry Stebbings from 20VC. Really long interview about basically their. And again, I should say I have not talked to him about any of this, but this is what's in the interview. But they're building like a huge model of like Git logs of like understanding commits over time, and what did they have to fix? What could they have seen earlier, right? And then there isn't that much of that. So based on a huge model ingesting a huge training set, it's building synthetic sets of similar patterns, and then using that to distill small models to be really efficient, for like code completion and for like fixing problems with and doing Git requests, right? So kind of like how Codex works, but
Okay.
probably like a way better approach to that.
Maybe, yeah. No, that's pretty interesting. Yeah,
So they're breaking ground on this new data center now. Like it's wild.
That's pretty cool. Like, I'll have to ask my friend Ryan about that. He was up there then, basically. Yeah, I was up at Galvanize when Transformers dropped. But like, we kind of didn't jump on it at the time. So you know, but like, what was it?
It wasn't obvious until GPT-3.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, yeah. And people were like, "Oh, you can get it to kind of be worse at Shakespeare than a Markov chain." Great, you know, it was like not good. So yeah, I like. I've been kind of doing that myself. Like, uh, you know, I bring up 4.5 because it's the first one I've been able to, instead of coding with it like it's another senior dev, it's like when I can leave alone. I can be like, hey, fix this thing, or like, hey, review the code base and see if you can find any of this stuff. Um, and I've been doing like a bunch of multi-agent architectures. They like argue with each other and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's to this point where like it'll be going along, the system will be pretty stable, and then it'll start doing an anti-pattern, right? And the anti-pattern will propagate through the code base. And so then we'll have to do anti-pattern cleanup. And like, if you've worked at a big company, you know this is a constant problem. You've got what we defeated the anti-pattern. Oh no, there's a new anti-pattern, you know. And so there's always some anti-pattern you're cleaning up. Half the company is like, we gotta throw everything out and restart it. And you're like, no, we're just going to address the awful anti-pattern. And so I built this system that like, it does a review, errors that mask bugs, like problems in the system that we should have been able to find. It reviews based on like Git. It has like a memory system. And then I started to have the agents have coffee, like on Fridays with my leftover tokens. And having the coffee conversation, they discuss the types of bugs, invent new checklists, and then like kick off new review processes, right? And so it's not just like, hey, you know, you're in charge of making sure that the autonomous operator doesn't crash. You're in charge of making sure we don't get a merge backlog. It's like, okay, well, just have coffee, and then they decided to make some checklists that I had not decided to make. And I'm always like, checklists, everyone, checklists. Have you heard of checklists? And these they came up with like a whole bunch of autonomous checklists that were anti-patterns that I had not noticed, you know. And
Yeah.
so that's a weird thing. I'm like not ready sometimes for how advanced this swarm is, but then they'll still do stupid stuff. Recently I've just noticed that like, if I don't get involved while it's in the like figure it out process, it does better in the end. But if I'm like, wait, stop, don't do that, do this, it's like, oh, got it, and it like loses its flow, focuses too much on not doing the thing, like forgets everything else, right?
Yeah.
And so I've had to take my hands off of it as much, and it's weird.
Yeah.
Lately.
I feel like that is a good example of the kind of artifact of like, is this really common pattern with LLMs that is not well understood. It's the reason I argued that ChatGPT would be a bad product. It's because it's like, it's not, it's like, we think of it as a zero-shot learner. It's not a zero-shot learner, it's a few-shot learner. And that pattern, no, stop, don't do that, becomes the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a form of context poisoning
Right. It is. Yeah.
versus letting it finish and then right. But even then, it's like this was a bad train of thought. Like you need to be able to remove it and try again,
Yeah.
which is missing from chat interfaces.
A cursor has like, you know, you go back, you hit the revert button, you like, you know, branch off and stuff like that. But
I'm not
yeah.
convinced that that works that way though, because it seems like I often feel like when I do undo, it will in some way like still have that in the context. It's like this was wrong or something, right?
I don't know. I haven't seen this, but it's possible. I
Have
mean,
you
it also
have you
they deploy like every other day though, so like, you know, all the thing is all these systems are self-modifying. Like they're all working on themselves at this point. Like,
yeah
you know, I mean, it started off as like update the wiki anytime we update the simulation, and then it's like write tests, and then it's like, okay, fix any syntax errors. Okay, now fix type errors. Okay, now, and it just becomes, you know, address roadmap items, and
yeah
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
I started doing like a style guide that's like included in the prompt, and then it becomes more and more complicated. It has a roadmap, it has like the social context, like the uh all these details, and then it's supposed to update that, and then eventually I merged that into like the readme,
mm-hmm.
that it should just be like a readme, that it's like putting all that stuff in and updating, and which I think works pretty well, but then like it's really big by the time you're actually starting to write code, and it becomes like too big for context almost. And
Yeah, and then you gotta kind of break it apart. Yeah, I end up with like a roadmap or a couple of, I mean, checklists. Like I turn it into a bunch of checklists, and then it's like do a front end review, do a test coverage review, do a Python review, you know, that kind of stuff.
somebody asked me earlier, how, like this this person is trying to put their many years of journal entries, most of which are audio recordings that they've transcribed using Whisper, into like a chat interface that they can ask questions and stuff. And they were trying to do the elk stack. Um, and they're like, how can I accomplish like an effective semantic search? Like what's the MVP of that that's gonna like work for my needs? And it's like, I don't know, girl. Like this is the edge of the edge. Like
Yeah.
there's not an answer for that question.
Yeah, like embeddings. I mean, beyond that,
That's what they're trying. Yeah,
Yeah.
embeddings. But it's like how big is your context window?
right.
Like how do you search through long form abstract text to find what's even relevant? You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, ontologies. I don't know. This is where like the graph rag comes in, right? Graph rag, right? Everything's connected to everything else, and it's all whooshy mooshy, and you can like, you know, extract all the entities and their relationships, and then you know, every time you make a memory, it will be related to the right other things, and like it just won't. It just won't. And then embeddings,
Yeah.
that's the same thing, but it's not. It's just
Have-
not. It just doesn't like. You can.
Have you seen Semrag, which sounds like cumrag to me, like Sem? I'm like, why would you call your paper that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's fine. I think it's just that's just people who don't know what embeddings are or do.
But it's sort of like this eternal question of the internet of like ontologies.
Organize information.
And like, why do you have everything that's on the page in some kind of like JSON thing that like relates to? It's like, really? This is the answer. We have everything in 3 different places in the HTML file,
Yeah, exactly.
plus the meta.
I mean,
you know.
it's like CSS though. You know, there's nothing better. There's not a better thing. They just don't make it. Like, you know, CSS is the worst thing that's ever been used to style anything.
I kind of feel like Markdown is pretty great.
Markdown's great, yeah. But you can't style Markdown. You have to do it with CSS.
With Jekyll. Yeah. Right.
And so it's
But then your ontology is sort of like
text
less
coded.
complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the format that's like most readily accessible to LLMs.
Yeah. And it came out of like chat syntax too, you know, and like natural internet stuff. I don't think we would have gotten there, you know, naturally. Or, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten there through a design process. It's, you know, language is an emergent phenomenon, so that's kind of why I like embeddings over semantic stuff, because it's emergent, it's geometric and like based off of statistics and not based off of like someone's specific ontology. Um,
Have you seen this OCR thing?
the OCR thing. Oh, the compression with OCR. Text compression with images. That's stupid. It's good and it works. It's just stupid that it works. I'm just like upset that that's where we've gotten. Like,
Yeah.
also, how do we get? I missed the jump between translate images into text tokens and image tokens are somehow less than the text tokens. How did we get there?
I have a very strong feeling for a long time that tokenizers are stupid and that ternary is better not just because it's smaller, but because there's two places that models can store knowledge, right? There's the easy one, which is in parameters. So you have like the Golden Gate Bridge parameter, which is a famous Anthropic example. That's wrong, like ontologically wrong, because the higher order complexity, the vast majority of the latent space is not stored in parameters. It's stored in the relationships between parameters and the complex emergent patterns of relationships between parameters, which is way harder to train, right? But if you have, like, if you were doing a ternary model with, like, not letting it just pick its own encoding, you wouldn't have the strawberry problem. Like, there's so many things where it's like, this is a high dimensional space that's being encoded, and the way that it's being encoded is the way that's easiest to train, and it causes enormous increase at inference cost, where if you spend a lot more of your compute budget on training for like BitNet, for example, inference would be 100 times faster, and the model would be much smaller. Because instead of relying on these large parameters, you're relying on the topology and the relationship between them.
Don't we already do that with like?
No.
I mean, so there you got their positional encoding, and that is the layer that creates the pivot between the relationship embedding and the object embeddings. Like, you know, Darth Vader is Luke's father, and so like if we had said Luke is Darth Vader's father, it would be a different sentence with a different set of meaning because of the order of the words, and then the ordering of the words is reduced into a positional encoding, and then you have the positional embedding based off of the positional encoding and the token, and then those are bridged at the attention layer, right? And so like, doesn't it bounce off the stratosphere? I don't know how to explain that that operation, but like, doesn't that translate through there? Or is it just too circuitous?
Well, I mean, they're all different. So like we've a lot of like the architectures are actually not.
But they're the same size, so they're like added together, so they're commutative.
What?
Like,
oh, you mean like the token values?
The embeddings of it and the token embedding and the positional encoding embedding.
We might be getting too esoteric.
Yeah, we are definitely. Anyway,
Did you see the news about Jan LeCun?
What news about Jan?
He's quitting and he's starting a competitor.
Great. I mean,
I would work there. I love him. He's great.
yeah. Okay.
He's like Gary Marcus is the loudest shitting on LLMs as like a passive AGI, but LeCun is by far the most prominent. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
My friend
Gary Marcus
is
is
like, no, they're not. And I'm like, I don't know. I think we're there, but that's my thought. So, you know.
But like he also, you know, as like the head of AI at Facebook has been saying this for years that like this is LMs are dead. Like we're not there's
What is this like? You know, I hear a lot of these people say these things, but they're somewhat unqualified to me. Like, you know.
well, he like invented convolutional nets.
Yeah, but I understand them. So like, I mean, his inventing of them doesn't mean that he has some sort of like what is his argument?
There are a couple of really good examples. The two that like really sold the argument for me is the thing about like if you train a model on all of the knowledge up to the date of some great discovery, it's not able to figure out the great discovery. Like it's not able to synthesize new information. Even with all of the appropriate stuff, it's really only like regurgitating concepts. It's not actually coming up with new ideas. And he argues that this is also true, especially with code. That like with coding, it's not coming up with like novel patterns. Like when we look at like the AlphaGo models that are like inventing new chess that no one's ever seen before, it's just fundamentally different than that. And you know, on some level, it is essentially a Markov tree, and it's a very complicated one, right? But it's not like it does have some capacity to embody more complex ideas, but it can't do perspective taking. It can't really plan, and it can't do certain kinds of. I mean, so like, there's this counter argument that like with enough tokens, maybe it can.
I mean, I see it reason every day. Like, I don't know people who say this. I fundamentally do not understand people who say that they can't reason.
But reason about what?
I mean, like, one, you can tell a language model to use certain reasoning processes that are like somewhat deterministic, you know, proof by construction, all that kind of stuff. I see them reason all the time. I see them try different diagnostic processes all the time. They're not finite trees, not everything. And the other thing is, like, there's a lot to it. Like, for example, it's like, oh, well, how come it doesn't intuit or figure out the great discovery? Well, have you posed the problem and have you let it try? Like, you know, and what situation, like in what laboratory setting have we proven this, you know, that this is not possible? I get it that you can come up with like some situations, some examples of an LLM failing at something, but just because you can find an example of an LLM failing at something doesn't mean that all of the previous successes are now fake
successes, or that they always will.
Right. That's kind of like saying, oh, well, if you get 10 questions in a row right, but you get the 11th one wrong, then you never really knew the 10 in the first place. Like, it's just that the first thing does not entail the second, right? And so
I think the bigger reason is the scaling laws being wrong.
What do you mean?
Right. Like it's an S curve. It's not it's like it doesn't continue to get better exponentially faster than you increase the scale of it. It did early on because we were at the bottom of the S curve, but we've reached the top and they're leveling off in terms of performance.
No.
Tooling.
Did you read like the illusion of diminishing returns? The thing is, like, you know, if there are 100 questions in the test set, right? You can only get 100 of those questions correct, and then you stop getting to get more of them correct because there were 100 questions, right? And so you can only get to 100% in terms of correctness, but diminishing gains over single tasks lead to exponential gains in the long horizon. And so we are still seeing exponential growth. It's just in the long task horizon thing, because at some point you can only get 100% on a test. There's no like, there's only 100%. You can't get 200% on a test that has 100 questions. That's not how it works. And so you're always going to see this apparent leveling off, but that's because you're measuring a single, like, finite set of correctness. And so it's always forever going to look like that. There's no way to go beyond that. That's just definitional. And so, like, we are still seeing incredible gains. And if you look at the meter study, right, about,
But not
like,
at the same speed. I think that's what's different. Is like the second and third derivatives are.
No. Meter.org is showing that the second and third derivatives are still growing. Like, measuring AI ability to complete long tasks. That one. Like, they're still speeding up. In fact, we were supposed to double again in August. After April, or yeah, what was it? It was supposed to be like every 7 months. So we doubled in January, and we weren't supposed to double again until like August, but we doubled in April, and then we doubled again by August, and so
At what?
yeah, and then now.
But what doubled?
The long task, like, and it's like, if you get 99.9% right, what's the value of going from 99.9 to 99.99? Well, if you make a mistake, you're more likely to make a mistake in a later task. You self-condition on your errors.
Tasks now.
No, these are like software engineering tasks. These are like the same things that we've been, you know, they're the easiest ones because you can validate that they're done, but they're still like the squishy, complicated ones, like exploit a buffer overflow in libc, you know, or like web scraping. They couldn't do web scraping a year ago, and now they can just do arbitrary web scraping. And like, you know, it's a bunch of little things that are complex tasks that require you to have a high success rate and an ever higher success rate. And so it's like, you know, the fourth 9 is so much harder than the third 9 to get, right, in terms of reliability, availability. And so it's the same thing. It's always going to look like the difference between getting the third 9 and the fourth 9 is going to be exponentially greater. But the difference between that third and that fourth 9 is a world of reliability difference over the course of a year or 5 years or something like that. And so then when you have like a language model that's operating autonomously, if it's like 1 error per day, and you need 15 errors before a human has to get involved to like put it back on the rails again, then you can go for 15 days instead of going for 2 days, you know.
But isn't that mostly tooling? Like, isn't that?
No, it's it's just, yeah, it's this paper, the illusion of diminishing returns. I guess I should do a video on it, but it's pretty good.
But I mean, like in general, I would totally agree that like tooling is getting a lot better. That especially like the kinds of like, you know, what, like all of these different models have like a different tool use paradigm that they want you to use, different keywords and stuff. And then like the tools being integrated and being used effectively, right? I think all of that stuff is getting a lot better. But
I mean, like MCP was a big thing earlier this year, and that did help, I think, unify tool signatures, right? But I mean, like Claude 4 in Claude Code, the same Claude Code, and Claude 4.5, night and day difference. They're still making a lot of like significant, you know, significant headway.
do you think that's more than just reinforcement? Like, is that not like human reinforcement training?
No.
What do
I
you
mean, it could be long chains of thought, but I see Claude go through 3 or 4 context window compactions before it knows whether or not it successfully, succeeded, right? And so, like, how am I getting 4 or 5 context windows worth of pursuit that then succeeds at the end, and then I'm doing reinforcement learning on that? Like, how am I training on that? And like you could train on every interstitial thing, um, and maybe that is part of the coherence. It's just like better continuance probability and capability given a summarized context. Better summarization could be driving that, right? Like it could be a lot of different effects. And it probably
Yeah.
is a large number of different effects given the amount of research that's come out in the last like 2 or 3 years. It's probably a whole lot of things, honestly. So, I mean, yeah, probably some of it's tooling. Some of it's got to be the MCP stuff. But no, I think they're still making a lot of gains. It's just that it seems like single step is like leveling off. But single step is leveling off. Long horizon is expanding exponentially. And that's the thing to watch. That's the like, found me a company, start a nonprofit, organize a food co-op. Like those are long horizon. That's not. I'm not gonna sit down and do that tomorrow. Like that's like weeks, months.
Have you followed the AI Village project?
Oh yeah, you showed me that.
They did like a demo of it at the conference, and they previously had asked it to I don't know exactly what the prompt was, but it decided to make merch for itself, and then it like went through all these conversations about like what style of merch and like what kind. So they ended up doing stickers, but it didn't understand stickers really, and so there were a number of stickers that needed to be applied on top of each other to account for like layers of the image that it was trying to put onto the thing.
The best.
And it's like, here's your sticker kit, you know?
You're like, no.
Yeah. But it's funny, I think, and I keep going back to the efficient frontier and the Platonic representation hypothesis that like there is some perfect model that is perfect at everything, and that's an asymptote that is being converged on. And that for a given size, there is an asymptote, and they're converging towards that, right? And so when you look at like any of the different sort of like scales that have become normal, in the beginning there were these big jumps, and then now you're getting like very very tiny jumps towards the efficient frontier, and it obviously you can't go past the efficient frontier, right? So we're almost there, right? And we're getting a little bit closer all the time, but it's kind of like half of half of half of half to the point where it's like it's such a tiny difference to that's even possible. So the improvements are just necessarily less because we are already pretty close to the efficient frontier.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that. I think there's going to be a lot of asymptotes, but one asymptote in one area, I think, is a horizon on another area, right? And I think that's pretty common, like peak oil is one of the other ones, like easy oil, mid-level easy oil. Okay, harder to get oil. Okay, now we're fracking. Okay, now we're finding even more ways, and like at some point, like did we hit peak oil? Maybe, and then we get new technology, and so sort of, and it's like
The new technology is more expensive.
and the new technology is more expensive, but then there's better refining, and et cetera, like there's forces that sort of cause a thing to achieve homeostasis over time. And I don't know, I mean,
Leveling off.
until leveling off, there we go, leveling off. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, we'll probably see leveling off of different things, but like I think the one thing that there's no like 100% long horizon, right? It's just like longer and longer time. Eventually it's like technically it can go until the end of the universe, or something like that. And then there's your Fermi paradox answer. So I don't know, like
Yeah.
yeah.
We didn't even get to all the stuff about all the AI news.
Shut down the AI news. I don't know. I've just been
There's a lot going on.
in my own project world, because in there no one can get me, and so
There was interesting news today about Anthropic.
oh yeah, what?
OpenAI is claiming that a few years from now they will be losing hundreds of billions of dollars, and Anthropic is claiming that a few years from now they will be profitable.
Okay, that
And
sounds
so it's like
a statement that they made.
well, it's because they're almost all of their business is enterprise contracts. Where with OpenAI, it's almost all individual subscriptions, and so they have like this very different market. And yeah, it's interesting. Analysts are talking about, particularly in the fallout of Sam freaking out at Brad.
Yeah, that was kind of hilarious. Well,
Yeah.
he didn't. I don't know. I was led to believe it was way more dramatic than it was. He's like, enough. It was like not that big of an outburst. But yeah, I mean,
But then the rest of it, like, we can sell your shares to someone else.
yeah, that was like very catty. But also, I mean,
But it's like, this is the guy paying your bills.
yeah,
This is a reasonable question that you should have had an answer for.
yeah, he doesn't have a. But I don't know, man. Like,
But then the next day, the CFO went on the news and said that they need a bailout
yeah,
from the government.
yeah, and
And then he
also-
said the same thing.
right, and then also a lot of the layoffs apparently driven on AI spending, not because we don't need those people anymore, but because we had to lay people off so that we could buy more AI. Like, I am shooketh, but not. I don't know,
My investment strategy, I used to be a fund manager, and especially in my personal life, I think my like main philosophy of like sustainability with investing is that like whenever there is a big fundamental change, all of the incumbents are going to die. And like this is what that looks like.
yeah,
Whether or not it's even true. Like they're all gonna fall all over themselves trying to
right,
modernize and get left behind. And then the people who actually succeed are gonna be the ones that are just getting started, who are born into it.
yeah, yeah,
And that's always gonna be true. And there's always gonna be crises.
yeah.
And so
That's why we have the circle of life.
circle of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of the circle of life, I need to go and complete it by consuming the flesh of another being.
Okay.
Yeah, they're already dead. It's okay.
Ah.
I'm gonna go cook some chicken.
Is this you feel like this time is good?
Yeah, this is a great time, honestly.
Cool.
It's like right after class, but it's pretty good. So usually still got some words.
Cool.
Some weeks. All right.
See you next week then.
See you in the future. Bye. All right. What's up?